Hello, witches and seekers. Welcome to the Modern Witches podcast. We are here for our Capricorn and Winter Solstice episode. Delighted to be delving into the dark season with all of you, and delighted to be with my co host, Mariana and Karima. Welcome.
Hey guys,
Hi,
Thanks for being here.
thank
thank
you.
you.
So, Capricorn season, here we are. Honestly, I feel like December hit me
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
hard being at the end of this year and just really doing some kind of internal review of everything that's happened. And it feels like it's been multiple years in a single year for me. I don't know. Um, but yeah, how are you guys feeling as we enter into Capricorn?
I I do feel good. I understand what you mean by it feel like multiple years in one year. Like we always say the years go so fast, everything goes so fast, but at the end of the year you like kind of look back and say a lot happened. And when I think about astrology, because we have so many shifts that are happening in 2025 that we're definitely moving towards another part of energy, another type of energies that I feel like 2024 was kind of the transition, the closing on so many things, some realization, maybe a transition for the past you and now new you, kind of. That's how I feel. 2024 was definitely, for me personally, was definitely like the acceptation of being a mother and mother and mother crone definitely resonates so much for me. I didn't expect that transition between the maiden and the mother in like so long, but it was real and I felt it. I felt it to say goodbye to a part of me. But I guess for when I talk around and to different people and friends, that was definitely a shift in different area of their lives. So yeah, 2024 for me was definitely a transition.
Mm,
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, we record this with Mercury retrograde, and I don't know if I always say this, but this one particularly because Mercury is in Sagittarius feels too grand and too overwhelming for the
mm,
words to me. And yeah, we knew that the end of the year is going to be like jam-packed. We knew that there'll be retrogrades, that a lot of planets come into the critical degrees, ending, finishing cycles. So I think there is a lot of weight still to release. People talk a lot about Pluto moving finally into Aquarius and out of Capricorn, and so much things getting, I don't know, people expect things to get easier or something, but it's a different kind of transition that we're experiencing. Other planets are going to follow the suit of Pluto soon enough. And we're in this like liminal space that feels like it's never been more important than right now to trust oneself in what it's like this kind of tapping into. And it's Sag season that we record this, we're talking about Capricorn. Um, but it feels like such a reversal Sag season. And we're going to enter Capricorn on such an interesting note of kind of integrate, still in the integration mode. That's how I feel the beginning of Capricorn season this December. It's very integrational. I feel like
mm.
I need to allow things to ease into my system right now. That's how I feel.
Yeah. I think as you were talking, I was really thinking about how there's so much pressure at the end of the year of this Gregorian calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's often a Mercury retrograde at the end of the year, like somewhere in here, where we're forced to do this reviewing, reflecting, slowing down. And that really aligns for me with this idea of the solstice and the solstice season where, we're nearing closer and closer to the shortest day and the longest night, and has been historically for our ancestors to honor this time of year, um, and the darkness that holds us in its grip. And there's like fear around what is in the darkness. There's dreaming into the darkness. There's planting seeds for hope for what's to come. And there's remembering the light, like recalling the light and calling the sun back at that darkest period. So it does feel like it's sort of a reminder right now to energetically attune to maybe a more mystical or mythic landscape that is here and existing around us, um, rather than, getting swept up in, oh, I need to do this and I should have done that by this time. And, all of the kind of like more imposed pressures that our society tends to put on us at this moment. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know. I think, astrology and um, any sort of like animistic practice helps us to reroute into a more energetic reality of like, okay, this is a slow season. This
Mhm.
is a rebirth moment. This is time to review. And all of the astrology really reflects that, I think. So,
Yeah. And how hard it is, how conditioned we are to resist this rest is mind-boggling to me.
mhm.
Knowing, being an astrologer, knowing what's happening, knowing how it is all about stopping and reflecting and going inward, it's just like finding solutions, finding next steps, figuring out what to do. It just doesn't stop, this
Yeah.
process. And now is the time to kind of, I don't know, allow yourself, give yourself a permission to, like, because of that, world may fall apart due to many reasons, but you stopping and resting, not one of them. So definitely.
Truly.
And the like just you both talking about it remind me that I need to slow down because I was just the in terms of society, yes, it's a time where there's Christmas, and so you think about all the gift, especially if you have a big family and everything that you need to do to prep. And if you host, there's a lot that is supposed to be enjoyable, but can turn really fast into a stressful time, even if during the day of Christmas or during Christmas Eve when you celebrate around a meal, families and offering you like gift and they're supposed to show the love to at the same time if you're not religious is what is mean for you. It can be stressful the beginning of it because if you're not organized like I'm not I'm gonna do everything last minute and it can be very stressful and when the astrology on the other hand with Mars retrograde with Mercury retrograde literally our energy is being asked to rest and just the winter solstice in general is to honor the darkness and to honor the retrieve of it. And so, yes, it's kind of contradictory, like those two type of energy, what was been asked of us and what actually is.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share the chart of the winter solstice here.
Hmm.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Mhm.
All right.
Luna. All
So
right.
we have the sun at 0 degrees of Capricorn here,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
squaring these nodes that are like slowly moving out of Aries and Libra.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
Mhm. Crossroads.
yeah.
Personal identity demands of the ones around you, family, partners, work.
Hmm.
It's always when I think about the sun, what in Capricorn, it's sort of what is your what are you living here? What are you asking to preserve? What that have been passed on to you? What your relationships demand from you or ask of you? What your desires, immediate desires pull you, which direction your immediate desires pull you in. It's all a little bit in conflict here with this sun squaring the nodes. And it's between relationships, identity, and where do we want to go? Where do we want to put our long-term effort? Truly. Yeah.
And there is this opposition during when the sun entered Capricorn. There's this opposition between the moon and Saturn, which, which can be very stressful, especially in the sign of Virgo, and the moon is in Virgo, the Saturn is in Pisces. Is what do we need? And when you need to let go of control, there's a big kind of a little reality check here. And what we need, where we feel comfortable, where we feel we need to nurture, and where we definitely need to feel safe and organized with this moon in Virgo and having a shit together, kind of. But Saturn in Pisces is also holding space for our mission, and is like creating a container for our feelings. And I just wanted to join that with what you just said, Mariana, about the demand of others. And obviously linking to what we talked about on the first part, which is the energy house asking us to slowing down, and somehow the society asking us to rush in December. So I do feel the chart can reflect that in so many ways.
Yeah, it's also interesting. It's not exact, but we have this sort of grand cross happening with the moon and Saturn, and then Jupiter opposite to Mercury here. So we have these like, yeah, conflictual energies here. There's the urge to be sort of like really myopic about things, and then there's the urge to be super big picture. Um, there's um, there's a lot of details to track, and there's also a lot of big visioning that wants to happen. So I don't know, when I look at this chart, I mean, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and there is a way that Capricorn season can have us feeling like, oh, we need to like attend to certain things, and the weight of obligation can feel maybe a bit heavier.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say like this to me feels like a really important time to really get clear about what your winter solstice ritual looks like and how it serves you, and what traditions feel important for you to uphold and what traditions feel less important for you to uphold. Um, there's something here about like creating space and creating a container for big questions to come through, that might anchor not only your Capricorn season, but also, you know, how you move through winter, really.
Yeah.
What a fascinating chart.
I know.
Seriously, guys. It's square on square and this grand cross, and Mars is on this up on its way to the second Mars Pluto opposition. But this grand cross to me personally speaks between the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury, the mutable cross, about something Saturn in Pisces, like some things that have been delayed, postponed, not tended to, that now this moon in Virgo is running in circles trying to get a grasp on, get a control on. But Jupiter and Mercury opposition, Jupiter in Gemini and Mercury in Sagittarius, it's like there is like not enough attention to the right details and too much big picture focus and vice versa. So there is something, it feels like something needs to be cleaned up. It's a very cleaning time. It feels like details, habits health-related issues. Saturn opposite Moon on the axis of Pisces and Virgo. And we have notes, we're going to talk about it later, but heading that direction, something healing, both mental and physical related, needs our attention. And that mind chatter, Mercury in Sagittarius opposite Jupiter and Gemini, doesn't help, destabilizing our nervous system, not allowing us to focus on things that matter for the amount of time that we need to. So that's what it feels like to me, this.
I love that. I feel like there's like a cleaning ritual, or, you know, I think a lot about bringing evergreens into the home at the solstice, and whether that be like burning cedar or like hanging a wreath on your door, or sweeping your home with cedar boughs or something like that. I feel like there's a way to call that kind of energy in, evergreens being connected with the sun. So also, if you're fortunate enough to have sun on the solstice, think about the ways that you can collect that and savor it, like making a sun tea, or infusing something in the sun, burning beeswax candles, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah. And Mars is retrograde. Guys, we're going to be low on energy during the holiday season.
Yeah.
Just do not resist that. We're going to be internally oriented. We're going to be needing to learn how to prioritize, how to channel our energy in a whole different way, how to not try to spread ourselves too thin. It's very energy oriented and healing and health oriented time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, it's the shortest day for a reason in the Northern Hemisphere. So, take advantage of the longest night, sleep, like do things by candlelight, go to bed early, like dream, really just be conscious of how much energy you can expend and how much you're expected to expend if the sun isn't even here for very long, Yeah. Anything else we want to say about this chart before we move forward? Any winter solstice rituals that you two have or you're looking forward to?
Well, you mentioned the ones that come to mind for me personally. It's sleeping. It's a ritual.
I love
I'm
it.
hoping to sleep a lot. And Saturn rules this season, right? So Saturn in opposition to Moon. So Saturn pressures the Moon to do something Piscean, to sleep, to rest. Saturn is not mindlessly and without a proper foundation and reasoning doing anything. So if Saturn in Pisces on winter solstice is opposing Moon in Virgo, it means that something lunar is under revision, is looked at, is sort of corrected. That's what it feels like. I'm going to be sleeping. I'm not going to be even being too worried about gifts and all of that. Whenever energy sparks, I'll go and do things that I need to do. But not in other way. Because I already feel this Mars retrograde also coming. So I'm like, if it's like this now, what is going to be like in few weeks' time?
So true.
Yeah.
It's one of the best times for dreaming, winter solstice, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Karima.
No. I was just, I like what you said about dreaming. I think winter solstice is great for that. Also, winter solstice when I think about winter solstice now, especially since 2020, I just feel of all this conjunction that happened around that time. That was very major for us. There can be Saturn, Jupiter at 0 degree of Aquarius, and now we have Pluto. That I think those have a theme in those repeating year. At the same time, I feel like we're going back to those degrees that were very important. So I do now not do I don't do any ritual since 2020 around that time, to be honest, for winter solstice. Just because there's so much coming up around that time. And even if I consider the the sun ingressing in Aries as the new year for me when I do New Year resolution and all of that,
Mhm.
I do acknowledge that energetically the world is starting a new phase too in January because in terms of society we are bound to that calendar, and that energetically we are also creating that new year. And so I'm trying to focus sometimes on what the transition of the January, February, March, what I'm going to shift there to prepare for the new astrological year. And I know it's very silly and weird to prep so in advance, but I'm
Not at
just,
all.
yeah, using started on winter solstice. Even if I don't do any ritual, this is the time that I start to review, re-question what I want to do for the 2025 March. Because there's so much good energy of retrograding. We're going to talk about it. The North Node and South Node's going to shift. We still have Mars retrograde until February, end of February. So for me, it's a beginning of reviewing what we want to do in March 2025. So
I
just
love it.
seeing what's coming up, you know. And with Saturn in Pisces in the water side, I like Saturn in Pisces because I feel like, water can spray and go everywhere and we can go in different direction. But Saturn is the cup and is creating a container where we say, that's where I want to focus on that feeling, on that emotion, on how it makes me feel. So using that I think is important.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you for that. I don't think it's weird at all what you said, because I think it's like, I don't know, I think of how bears go into hibernation,
Yeah.
and they need to do that in order to have their body move through winter to prepare for the spring.
Hmm.
And there's a way in which we all, I think, should think about time in less this like instant gratification moment. And I think a lot of us who practice witchcraft or magic or astrology, astrological magic, there's like the right time where we need to actualize this thing, which is true. There, that exists. That can be true. Um, but also we're moving through cycles, right? And cycles take time.
Hmm.
And we can have moments of illumination, but it also takes us time to like prepare for things, digest things. And for me, winter's like the digestion
Hmm.
time of year, where it's like we really have to like sit with everything that's happened and let things settle. Like the seeds are sleeping, they're getting ready for their big transition. So yeah, it's a good time. I feel like it's a good time to just like do the reflection work and not feel like you have to like hit the ground running.
Mm.
Um, but I did pull a card for us for the winter solstice, from the
Yeah.
Weird Sisters Oracle, and we got the crystal ball, sea scry.
Uh-uh.
So I love that. I love this because it's like any type of divination work, any type of inner seeing work, that you can do at this time is going to be super beneficial for you. So that's dream work. That's working with your crystals, that's working with smoke, or any type of personal divination practice that you have that really just allows you to be with the mystery and see what the mystery wants to gift you in terms of guidance.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you, Casey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So let's look at the next major transit we wanted to talk about here.
I think it's on December 26th, Mercury in opposition to Jupiter. It's the second one.
Okay, yeah, here we are.
Oh, yeah, it's the second one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. We had the one while Mercury was retrograde. Actually, I think it might be the third one, right?
Yes,
The
right?
It
third
is the
one, the
third one, you're right.
third.
Hmm.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's God, we've talked, I feel like, so much about this Mercury opposition Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nerve break. It's like, it's really restless. It's so restless. And I'm sorry to be like this, but I'm kind of over it. Like, truly, this whole like having a big picture view where you're not supposed to, and having like detail oriented where you're not supposed to, kind of like in conversation with each other. But thank God for that. They're in conversation with each other in mutual reception here. And Mercury's direct and picking up the speed finally,
Mm-hmm.
far enough from the sun, like trying soon, gonna reach in, like, I think it's in Aquarius season, or maybe Pisces. Mercury will reach the sun finally.
Mm-hmm.
But there are messages that Mercury carries here that hopefully through retrograde, through two oppositions, it has learned about how to manage the expectations of what you can do and what you can't do. And yeah, this is in a position of managing the grandeur,
Mm.
the grandness, or how do you say it, of things you want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've been really feeling this in a way that maybe I'm not sick of it, but I actually kind of have liked it because I think it's just become very clear to me the ways in which I overcommit,
Mhm.
and Mercury is sort of helping me be like, is that really the thing? And maybe Jupiter as well. Jupiter can be that kind of over expansive energy, but it can also be like, how does this feel? Does it feel way
Mm-hmm.
too big? Does it feel uncomfortable now?
Mhm.
So I think there's been a lot of questions for me about like what is reasonable to commit yourself to at this time and what doesn't feel reasonable to commit yourself to at this time, knowing that you don't have all the answers and knowing that there's so much you can't expect, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's been a kind of, for me personally, it's been kind of a good sort of meter, really putting things into focus of like, wow, this is
Mhm.
the largeness of what you're thinking about. And can you, in your energetic capacity with the spoons you have right now, actually show up for that?
Mm-hmm.
I like that perspective too. Though, yeah, I like
But
it
I get what
because,
you're saying.
yeah, it's sort of like I have this internal, if I can put it into words, there are desires and plans and sparks of inspiration here and there, but they do not match the energetic subconscious capacity of the moment. Saturn
Yes.
square in that opposition as we on around December 26th. So it's
Mhm.
that Saturn is opposing Jupiter and Mercury from, so that, and it's a good thing, I have to say. It's stabilizing and forcing us to listen. But how do you feel? What is the undercurrent of this mental like stimulate that you have in? What is the undercurrent of the sparks and this electrical signals that your brain is given to you? But how do they make you feel safe and calm and grounded in your emotions, or do they further destabilize your nervous system?
Mm-hmm.
And this is happening right after Christmas too. I just want to take
Yeah.
note of that because it could be a kind of a stressful time for some folks.
Yes. But the fact that it's the third one is like for me, like when we go over like usually a free time hit, like the first one is the brutal one, the second one we readjust, and the third one we digest the information that the planets wanted to tell you. So I'm positive for that third opposition, just because we're used to that energy by now, and we also maybe at the time um not find a solution, but kind of like know what our brain wanted to tell us at the time of the third opposition. and the lesson that maybe we needed to learn at that moment. And even if the day after Christmas, I feel like the Jupiter opposition to Mercury can be good for Christmas in terms of socializing and communicating. Jupiter make it bigger. The is in Gemini. Gemini love to connect. And Mercury, I hope will not say anything stupid or wild. In
Well,
Sagittarius, in family
Lima,
setting.
Mercury in Sag, I wouldn't
Just
hope for
be
that.
careful. Yeah, be careful of that. That's all. The Jupiter will help you to connect. The Mercury may be a little bit more tricky in what you're saying. Don't drink too much. Don't, you know, those type of things that can happen during Christmas. Because
Don't start shit at your
Mercury,
family dinner.
yeah,
It
Mercury
looks
can
like
be
starting
wild.
shit though.
It's like the perfect, this configuration is like the night start well, and it's great, and then pff, someone said something and it crashed, and exploded
Yeah.
around the table. But if you manage well, I think that that energy, you can have fun with it, and on a personal level, I think it's not easy. It's an opposition. We know it can be tricky, but still Jupiter is included in it, and we've been having those opposition now. And the third one, like I said, is usually the digestion, the assimilation of the lesson. So hoping that for the majority of folks, this is a time where we're like, oh, okay, there's the vision, there's this detail, this is I don't need to spend that much time in that core. And I can just like, it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be done, kind of that
Yeah.
more lesson life vibe, depending on where it hit in your chart.
Yeah. And just for the reference, the first two oppositions, the first one was on November 17th. The second one was on December 3rd. So whatever was stirred around those dates for you, for Mercury and Jupiter, just this can kind of bring it to sort of culmination.
Also, don't talk about politics in Christmas. With that configuration, with Jupiter, Gemini, Mercury, and Sagittarius, just a little advice. Don't talk about politics.
Or talk about it and face the consequence.
Yeah,
Don't talk
exactly. Unless
about
you
it.
really want to like light it up.
Want to have fun for Christmas? Let's do it.
Why not? What do we have to lose?
All right. Yeah, that's going to be a spicy one.
Mhm.
Then the next transit we wanted to discuss is Chiron. Chiron stationing direct. On the 29th, I believe. Yes. I was just reminding myself, Chiron has been in Aries since
I want to say 2011.
2018.
11. I was, I know,
Oh no, 2011. Why is it
11.
2011?
Yeah.
11,
I
was
think
it
it's
2011?
I think it's 2018.
Really? Or maybe I was 20. Let me double
Let's
check.
see.
Let's see. Yeah, probably not that long. Yeah,
Yeah,
Chiron was in
Oh, you're
2018.
right.
2018. What was
Entering
I thinking?
Aries
What
in
happened in 2011?
2019. I don't know. I was 2011 in my head. Swear to God.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
And
pretty new.
yeah, and so I think people who are like in their mid 40s have Chiron and Aries. So
Uh,
Mid
just
40s, mid
take it
50s. Yeah.
mid forward to 50s. Yeah. So like this is a note of just like noticing where's Chiron in your chart. Figure that out, folks, because it is an important as like planet, and it's a dwarf planet, right? Technically.
mm-hmm.
And it's a heavy hitter, and it's been retrograde. It's stationing direct on the 29th. It's going to be in Aries until 2027, 2026.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple more years of this energy here. Do I even have Chiron showing up right now?
No, there's an option that you can do on the setting. You can add any asteroid on Luna, but right
Let's
now we
do
don't
it.
have.
Chart points. Let's add it.
Yeah. Let's add it.
So
Chiron.
Oh, no, it's a filter.
You have Lilith, the nodes, the ascendant, and Karen is right here.
Here it is.
You found it. There we go. Great.
Mhm.
And I think you have to go to the bottom to save it.
Go to the bottom and do it done or something. No?
No, I don't
Well,
see
I
that.
guess we can just go
Oh, yeah.
back.
Let's see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yay, Chiron. Okay, so now
First
we have
time that I
Chiron
say
here.
yeah to Karen. First time that I say yeah to Karen.
Yeah, no, it has been difficult with this Chiron, and where you have
Yeah.
Aries in your chart, it has been quite a ride. It has been on my ascendant for a couple of years now. And very
Mhm.
interesting, but I'm kind of hopeful for Chiron being in Aries in this moment in time as Saturn and Neptune, because Chiron is like, because it's an archetype of a teacher for me, like among many other things, like a wounded healer and things like that. But it is an archetype of a like really high-minded teacher. So doing that work in Aries for like an extended period of time now, it kind of, for me, maybe I'm just being like hopeful here, it's sort of prepared the soil for Saturn, for Neptune. There is some work has been done because Aries has this like energy of like innocence and naivete and sometimes foolishness. And Chiron has been maturing already for a while, that part of the charts. So I hope that this is kind of a silver lining, as much as difficult as Chiron can be, don't get me wrong, but that difficulty sort of makes it easier for Saturn and Neptune in my eye.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really like that take. I think that makes a lot of
Mm.
sense. I started tracking Chiron this year because I have some points in Cancer, so it's been squaring those. And
Mm.
when you really start to notice, and when you have like exact transits too with Chiron involved, it's pain.
It's pain. It's painful and like it's also we don't know what we kind of start to ask question around topics that where it hits
Yeah.
you and where
Mhm.
everything seems to be not sure anymore around the topic that it hits you. And I mentioned it last month too that my Chiron is on my natal Jupiter. I mean, the Chiron transiting in Aries is on my natal Jupiter.
Mhm.
And the question around faith, religion, and
Mm.
spirituality is a big, big one for me. And I try to deny it. And it's simple as who do I pray for? What am I believing in? Is it this for real for me? But this thing I'm attracted to. But why? Like all those questions about around faith and wisdom and philosophy and what can be truth or not, or is it multiple truth? Karen is coming and just asking this um, small random questions like that. But very like it will disturb, it will shake the foundation of what you believe in. And he's a
Mm.
teacher, so he's here to shake the ground first to be able to crack it up and diffuse his wisdom. And you're supposed to transform in that knowledge, in that wound that can be yours. And on a collective level, which is very interesting for me, is we had Uranus transiting, entering Aries in 2010 and left Aries and entered Taurus in 2019. 2019, which is where Chiron also enter Aries. So we have Uranus left Taurus, and then we have Chiron entering Aries. And what is interesting about Uranus, if you look back, 2010, at that time, when Uranus started to come, there's a lot around self-image that came up. Selfies started to be created. We had a lot of social media around ourselves. So Uranus definitely revolutionized and how to promote ourselves, how to be
Mhm.
very into the image one, like really the body, the image. And the selfie is like wild to me when it was created the first time. When I saw people taking selfie of them and it was like, you don't like you can take like the ego was like it's so egocentric. The first
It
thing
is.
that I
But
saw it. And now I'm like, taking selfies and selfie with my mom. It's like, oh no, it's not egocentric anymore. So like, the whole thing of it. And it's very interesting about when you study about Uranus and Aries and whole that part of social media and the image of ourselves or how we show our body. And now how you evolve, and now Karen is entering. And I do think in that time of Karen in Aries, Aries is deeply about ourselves. It's deeply us. It's us, me as a person. And of course, that will switch depending on where in your chart it hits at. So even the sixth, seventh house, of course. But I do think in terms of collectively, we're going through uh, this question of individualization and egocentrism and like me, and this cultural that was imposed on us with internet and that kind of isolated us and COVID hit and so we were more at home and so it was all about us, me. And so I feel also Karen is playing a role. We also had during that time crazy. We had when you're in his head, we have like dictators and leaders that were proud to focus on themselves and say, me, I am doing this. I am like that was very that energy through leaders too. And I just find it interesting when Karen is in Aries like this teaching us about this, promoting ourselves in detriment of what? Is it too much? Are we too self-centered? Where is the wound here? What do we need to prove to ourselves? That was a video when I saw like someone was like, now you have the perfect fitness schedule, the perfect food, the perfect house, how you waking up in the morning and you like people are like preparing the meal for the kids and the house is perfect. And there was a psychologist who was talking like an old dude and he was like, they're filming themselves. They're filming this. This is not reality. And it was just hit me, So yeah, they put a
So funny.
camera and make it happen. This is not real. And it's just like hit me so too because it was like you can get so wrapped up in that. And it's all about image and self. And the other person has that one, my house is not like this. When this chaos is my house. Those mom is clean. And we're like, how does it have a clean house? And it's just like the hit me at the end was like, they have a camera. It's like the setup of it all. It's set up,
Totally.
and we have this cement. And I just feel Karen is definitely here to do some cleaning in those areas and to put it to an extreme that we have to go back. Um, so yeah, that was my little
I love it.
experiment.
It's a really good reminder. It's like what you see is not necessarily what you
Yeah.
get.
Mm-hmm.
image always.
Yeah.
It's in meeting people in real life, their projection on projection.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see each other. It takes a lot to see another person as they are.
Yeah.
And through the social media, do you think unless there is a real effort, and that's what I find to be the biggest lesson of Chiron in Aries, Chiron is a centaur. It's a very Jupiterian energy to me. It's teacher energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the truth of identity, the truth of true individuality, it's not self-centeredness. It's just figuring out your core, your identity core, and just like leading the way with that. There's no individuality in all this sameness that we are doing right now with social media, with
Mm-hmm.
copycat and trends and everyone on TikTok dancing with the same, I don't know, like song and doing the same dance, like
Mm-hmm.
millions of people doing there. It's a very faulty take on individuality and attention on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
hope Chiron and Aries, like now going direct, will kind of get us straight collectively in the truth of the matter, what true individuality means.
And also how to use social media, because it's a love-hate relationship that we have, all of us, with that. Um, and can it be used to not destroy you or put you in depression and anxiety, like we see numbers around teenagers that use social media? Or can it be used for your own benefits, like how we have a relationship with that is being more healthy than destroying us, because now we had to see boards and flyers when we wanted advertising in the past. Now it's on a phone, is literally at the tip of our hands. So it changed everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
And it's only going to get wilder when Uranus moves into Gemini.
Yes, yes.
I
I
I
can't wait.
think
I'm like, what's gonna happen?
I don't know. I might be delulu, but I'm hopeful. Like truly, I'm like, at least there's this trine to Pluto
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
sextile to Saturn.
Exactly, because we have
There
been
is this
dealing with those square,
beautiful,
those square that were
yeah.
happening in Aquarius when Uranus was in Taurus. Like we had very challenging times, and so I hope there will be like you mentioned, Mariana, an harmony with Pluto and Uranus that is a very transformative, revolutionary. It's
Mhm.
transformation, but is with a trine, we can see a positive aspect to it.
It's funny how it pulls our attention. We're talking about something else, but we are like at Pluto and Uranus because
I
it's so
know.
major in 2025. We'll be
Mhm.
talking a lot about that, I'm sure, come
Yeah,
2025.
Yeah.
It's
for
one of the
sure.
major aspects. Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the final new moon of
Yeah.
2024, this
I
new moon in
love
Capricorn.
I love that it's just before the new year.
I know it's really lovely timing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's an Earth new moon.
Mhm.
I think when I look at this moon, and yeah, I could be totally wrong, but I see this as like a real opening, like a road opening opportunity here, for magic that helps us get clear about what we want, like what our
Mm-hmm.
priorities are. Um, it's like the perfect new moon for like really sitting in the darkness with yourself and like lighting candles and like really doing some magic that connects you with the earth and with your material reality and what you need in order to build sustaining structures in your life. Um, so I think this is a very magical
Mhm.
new moon with a lot of potential.
Yeah, I really like it too, actually. And I like it's the first Capricorn new moon after Pluto finally left Capricorn.
Mm.
So
Oh
this is the
yeah. Yeah.
first little kind of, all right, so there is no Pluto in this house. It's a first lunation in what, 16 years, where there's every time moon, there will be a new moon in Capricorn during this time. There would be like Pluto there, sitting there and just doing the Pluto thing,
Scowling
you
in the
know?
corner.
Yes.
Mm.
You know, that now the darkness you were talking about in the past, there was also someone else there always.
Yeah.
You couldn't have this moment
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
But now you can have this stabilizing without this watchful eye of
Mm.
Pluto. Saturnian lunation. I love Saturnian lunation, especially there's this
Mm.
sextile between the new moon and the ruler of the new moon, Saturn and Pisces. The ruler of the lunation is direct. I really like it. It's in a
Mm.
separating square from Jupiter, so they had. Oh no, is it? Is it separating? No, yes,
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it's separating square from Jupiter. So there is this sort of like what, like Keith, you said, what do we need? But what do we need from the emotional? Um, what do we need to allow ourselves emotionally in order to create these foundations? Where do we need to take a bit more emotional space? Where do we need to spill over a bit more, actually? Because though Saturn is container, I feel like with this lunation, it's very much about you. what is an appropriate boundary for you? So kind of measuring that boundary that allows you to play with an external reality that like in resonance with your emotional state,
Mm.
and figuring out what is that emotional state and kind of tapping into allowing yourself, because Saturn is also on the way out kind of from Pisces.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does feel supportive, except the Mars Pluto opposition.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the only like icky like pressure point here is this Mars Pluto opposition that's gonna be exact. What is it? Just days later? Yeah, on January 2nd, it'll be exact opposition between
Yeah.
Mars and Pluto.
So it's definitely something happening between collectively and individually, like with that opposition. When I think of Pluto in Aquarius, for me, it's the community, it's the people. When I see this opposition in Leo, for me, it's the leaders, it's the self. So there is,
The big orange elephant in the room, you know, at least
yeah,
in the US. It's like,
yeah. Oh, in France too, it's chaos.
yeah,
I think
Politically, I'm just like, this is insane what is happening in France. I'm just like it's a TV show. It's a sitcom. You can literally put a camera and it's a sitcom.
I
It's
mean,
wild.
not to even mention what's going to happen in Israel, like once this new administration moves
Oh,
in, and
yeah, I don't like it.
I'm
it's gonna be a clown show, and it's a very evil, manipulative, inhumane
Yeah.
clown show.
And I'm not gonna add on top of all the countries that you just mentioned what's gonna be happening in Russia.
Right.
yeah.
So we are in a real interesting time with this Mars Pluto opposition. We had one before November 3rd, I think. Yes,
Yeah.
November 3rd.
Of course, November 3rd.
Yes,
Of
it
course,
was in
around
November.
that time.
Around that time, there was a first one.
Yeah.
This one, and like there's a lot of talk on Instagram and TikTok about astrologers saying things that something will happen and there's something hanging over the events of November, something. We're not gonna know. I'm not a proponent of making any assumptions here. With Mars Pluto, it's very difficult, especially with Pluto, it's very difficult to predict, but it's gonna be a clash of powers, of a smaller power and a bigger power. It's a clash of opinions. It's a clash of ego and vision. There's like a
Ego
lot,
and people as well.
and yeah, and vision people. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting what's going to be happening, but the beginning of January and the end of December, because at the end of December, this opposition on this new moon that we're talking about, it's very much active. It's very, very much active. And with this kind of powerful opposition, I expect few days, like even a week prior, like a rambling starting to happen.
Yeah. And this is, Mars is retrograde as well. So it's going to be exact on the 31st, right after, looks like.
I think it's on the 3rd, January 3rd.
Let's see.
Because Mars is moving slowly. So, oh no.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's on the 2nd, but late, at least for San Francisco. So depending on your time zone, the 2nd or the 3rd. And it's, it's a violent transit. It's a clash, as Mariana said. And probably whatever happened on November 3rd, we're going to see a ripple of that, and then there will be another one in April, I think in April.
Yeah.
So yeah, just be tracking this, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always interesting for me to like talk about the Mars Pluto opposition because I have it natally exact in my chart. And I would say like it's all about witnessing and acknowledging how much energy you can hold before you're gonna explode.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's like finding ways to release energy in ways that, like, especially rage energy, anger, frustration, like finding ways to express that, like all throughout the end of January or end of December, beginning of January, it's gonna be really good. Like moving the heat around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like because it happened around the new year, like we mentioned, there's that clash happening in the background.
Hmm.
So I feel like I think more it can hit personally depending of your chart if you have planet that are very close, etc., or point that are important. But I do will emphasize on the fact that it's something that is happening to all of us collectively, because like Mariana mentioned on the first part, and Casey, you did too. It's a beautiful new moon. I love
Hmm.
new moon in Capricorn. They are, especially when they're ruled by Saturn, like that those new moon are ruled by Saturn, and they are especially when they are having an harmonious aspect to Saturn, the ruler of this lunation. And this is deeply magical for me, Capricorn. I know it has a bad rep, usually in astrology and everything that we can see, but for me, is the most reliable, resilient, building the in reality your dream or your vision and link it to the water sign. Saturn is in a water sign, is in Pisces, that had the dream, that had the vision, that had the dream that you want to manifest. And so for me, I know there's that background of Pluto and Mars, but on a personal level, there is something very witchy to manifest here. And I like that is at 9 degree. I like this point. It's almost the point of
Hmm.
kind of accumulation. Is the last fight. Is the last. The nine usually you see it in the tarot. This is I'm thinking Nine of Wands, for example. This is the last,
Hermit energy.
the Hermit energy, and I just think that yes, there's this in the background, but on a positive level, you can definitely do something on a personal level to manifest that Capricorn energy. And why? Because it's disciplined, it's resilient, it's strong. It wants to go with time. It's not scared that it's taking time to manifest those dreams, but it's keeping focus. And that's what we all need. We love the fire, we love the passion, but it can burn fast. We need that Capricorn that keep us grounded, and
Mhm.
that's the tree. So I
Hmm.
I do like that lunation definitely for ritual, putting your dream out there, focusing on something that you want a long lasting. Um,
Yeah, love it.
mhm.
All right. So after Mars and Pluto have that exact opposition on the second, third, on the fourth, we have Venus moving into Pisces.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we have this energetic shift for Venus. Um,
We love it.
yeah, we love Venus and Pisces.
Like I feel like happiness spices is just so lovely. We need that. We need that. The beginning of the year having a little bit of light around
Hmm.
that in that part of our chart because we have Saturn is a good placement, but it can be also tough. It's tough love, Saturn, and Venus is love, love. So we do like adding love into that part of our chart. And it's in general it is very good transit for arts, for spiritual work. It's a great way to connect with others, with your coven, with the unseen world too. I like that transit to increase my work in channeling because Venus is so welcoming uh, when you enter Pisces that it just bring down the barrier of that. Yeah, for I like this transit personally for like spiritual work. I like to do it
Mm.
more
Mhm.
intensively during that transit.
Yeah. I think it's better to do spiritual work with Venus in Pisces than, though it's exalted, Venus in Pisces.
Mhm.
I find it to be, when I see it in the charts of people, to still somehow lean towards a bit more idealistic and
Mhm.
sort of like having rose-colored glasses when it comes to real life choices, decisions, relationships, things like that. But when it's related to like mystical work or channeling, like Rima said, or I don't know, arts, any kind of arts, creation, creative work, it works so much better in my opinion. Not to say, but this is the kind, especially with Venus, it feels like after Venus in Aquarius, after holidays, where Aquarius is very much socially oriented, it's community, it's friends, it's people. There is this retreat moment after New Year's. This Venus is very helpful, especially as it's applying to Saturn, slowly approaching Saturn. It's sort of clearing us from all the excesses of the holiday season, if there were any. It's sort of allowing us the focus and realignment with what we need in Pisces. I like the Venus with Saturn here, actually. It feels like, okay, we can kind of stabilize these waters, Venusian waters, with this Saturn. I like it.
I think the only thing that comes up for me when I look at this is like there might be a little bit of a sense of like loneliness in the process, perhaps, or grief even. But I think it's, as Mariana was saying, it's like kind of like a supportive energy. It's like whatever feelings of like loneliness or limitation around your Venusian access um, is showing you how to push through. Like I feel like there's a way that it's like encouraging us to open up more or like move through the discomfort, move through whatever Saturnian like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one more thing on this,
Mhm.
because Saturn is so like I said, crystallizing, stabilizing, and Venus in Pisces likes to make up things,
Mhm.
beautiful things. So it may allow this loneliness and sense of isolation and melancholy to be grounded in something beautiful, hopefully.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
having this like Saturnian gravitas to kind of, let's not just dwell in that, but do something with that. I like that.
Yeah, like write the poem or write the song
Mhm.
or do the painting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Another ingress into water sign follows when on January 6th, Mars goes retrograde into Cancer. Mars continues its retrograde journey and it moves into Cancer. So this is January 6th, and it's Mars moves into Cancer land. Um, yeah,
Mhm.
we already
Yeah.
we've already experienced, you know, Mars moving through Cancer this year, and so you can think back to what happened during that time for you, like what was going on, how did it feel, and that's going to be your preview.
Mhm. Yeah,
January, yeah,
specifically, sorry, quickly, the dates.
no go.
Specifically, the shadow period, October 5th to November 4th. October 5th is the shadow period of Mars in Cancer started. November 4th is when Mars entered Leo. So October 5th to November 4th, whatever transpired then.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, really important. It's so interesting that it was like the lead up to the election, and then on January 6th, which was like inauguration day, Mars goes back into Cancer.
It's crazy. There's something happening here. There is, I don't know what it is. And I really, it's not like, I think I kind of know. I don't know. And Mars doesn't like being in Cancer. And it's so like, easily inflamed and triggered and offended. And, but again, sometimes it's not obvious to the, like someone from the outside how offended or triggered or angered this energy can be. So something that has maybe not that obviously have push someone's boundaries can now maybe coming back to maybe shown to us, or we might see the repercussions of that, or someone's anger in a not very sustainable or forthcoming way can be coming through after January 6th. So we'll see. But it's a very emotional anger if not handled with, I always say, any Mars in any water signs, the only salvation is love. Otherwise, this Mars is not gonna do well.
Yeah, and it's interesting, on the same day we have Mercury forming a square to Neptune. So it makes me feel like there's this, this emotionally triggered undercurrent here. There's like some set level of like upset happening emotionally, that we're not able to fully express because Mars has issues with figuring out how to express itself in Cancer here, retrograding. And then Mercury squaring Neptune, there's like confusion. There's some level of like additional confusion around what is true. I feel like this is like a misinformation moment.
Or deception,
Or
additional
yeah,
deception.
yeah, manipulation.
Sorry, I was muted. It's very interesting because we were talking about the similarity when, Mars retrograding on beginning of January when the election happened. It was in Cancer, and we also have Venus. We will talk about it, but Venus have an 8-year cycle, and so Venus back in 2017, just after the election, November 2016, when we had Trump got elected, in March, it started this retrogression from Venus in Aries to Venus in Pisces. And now, 2025, 8 years later, we're going to have back the same retrograde, Aries to Pisces. And so we can see those similarity from when Trump was elected 2016, 2017 to now. And so it's very interesting. And I can't wait to talk about that subject of Venus doing that 8-year cycle. And here we are in Aries, not mentioning everything that we mentioned at the beginning of the podcast around Aries, Uranus in Aries, about the self, about leader that rise up around that time that will be very into themselves, very dictatorial. And so I noticed that starting January, we have this resemblance happening collectively. And so it's like we said, we have squaring Neptune, we have Mars in retrograde in Cancer, very watery, very watery, very emotional.
Something that has been running underneath for years is about to pop.
About to pop. And that Venus retrograde, it's 8-year cycle, very resonated when I saw it. I was like, oh, yes, true.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to speculate here, but things that we know have been percolating and building for so long is like the takeover, the evangelical takeover of United States government, Project 2025, whatever. So, and the suppression of women's rights and, non-cis men's rights. So yes, this is a time to like just check in on your community members, join organizations that put you in touch with people who need the most support right now. So we wanted to finish this episode with the final or another ingress when Mercury moves into Capricorn. So it's moving out of Sag into Capricorn on the 8th of January.
And we love it. I love it. I can't speak for everyone.
I love it too, Mariana.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
High five. Yeah. No, seriously, it's like it has been such a like I've maybe said it before once that oh this has been such a difficult Mercury retrograde, but this one really
Mhm.
has.
Yeah, messy.
It really has. And
Messy.
yeah, it has been messy and I've been in more arguments throughout this Mercury in Sagittarius than probably ever in my life. It's unbearable. It's misunderstandings, perceptions. Somebody didn't hear something. It's just not good. Like, so I love Mercury that gets some grounding, some Saturnian, like, let's sit down, let's make a plan, let's not rush, don't open your mouth before you're ready. So things like that. I love it.
Yeah. And I just feel that came to support this new moon that happened in Capricorn. And like
Mm.
you mentioned, it has been so hard past months with Mercury, which is our mind, our communication, how we talk, how we think. There's just so much that Mercury embody and that we need on a day to day that having Mercury entering Capricorn a week after this new moon, I just feel help us to see clarity on what we want to engage with. And especially I will, again, because I love so much that new moon, will help you also see clarity around those intention that you put during that new moon. And Mercury is just, I know, like I said, I love Capricorn. And I'm a Sagittarius. I have nothing in Capricorn. I just crave that energy so much. But yes, I just feel like it's needed after this kind of rocky time that we have with Mercury. Sagittarius, like you mentioned, Ariana, a lot of conversation, a lot of fight. And I'm sure that was like this for a lot of people. So, yeah.
Oh, yes. No, I love that, Karimak, because the moon will be sort of in its quarter phase too. So that's always a good time to kind of check back in with your new moon intention and see what's happened. What have
Yeah.
you worked on? What are you recommitting to at that stage of the moon? So, yeah, good time to
Mhm.
check in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that
That was
was our
a
part
lot.
one. Yeah.
There's a lot of things happening. Huh?
It's the solstice season. There's always a lot. And
So
Capricorn puts us
much.
to work, right?
So
So,
much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but thank you. I want to thank Luna for sponsoring us this year and being such a great community partner. Definitely check out their software. It is great for folks learning astrology, for folks who have been astrologers for years. So it's a beautiful software. I hope you check it out. And we'll put some information to do that in the show notes. And thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Happy solstice.
Happy
Happy
solstice.
solstice.